Hello, my name is Alejandro Salcedo, and this is Burning It Down, Conversations with Young People of Color in Theater. And today we have a special Pride edition. We got Miss Christine Herrero and Miss Tasia Jewell with us today. Everybody clap. Everybody clap. And so I just wanted to get started today just going over like your journey through theater and just your main experiences that made you who you are today. If you want to start us off, Christine.
Okay, sure. I've been performing since I came out the womb and I sang Good Morning by the cast of Singing in the Rain. And then, even though I was born at 11:50 p.m., born and bred now. And then I did my first like musical play moment in fourth grade. I played Beethoven, very timely. I had a rousing 11 o'clock number, a ballad titled Can You Hear, about him being deaf. Choices, whoever wrote that. And then I've just been kind of performing since. I did a bunch of plays and musicals, and not a bunch, I did a few in middle school and high school. I was never a lead. I was always side characters or frankly ensemble most of the time. And then I was like, I want to keep doing this because I'm a dumb idiot. And then I auditioned for schools. Spent 4 years continuing to not get cast. And then I moved to New York to continue not getting cast. I'm so smart. That's my journey.
Okay, Miss Tasia Jewell, what was your journey up to Corona Theater? How'd you?
Well, also like Miss Christine, fourth grade, this is when I got my start. I played the Boogie Woogie piano teacher man.
Yeah.
Listen,
An alto.
I had this like Elvis costume thing on. It was called like Saturday. Yeah, I think the musical was called Saturday. And they sang a whole song about me. I just got to improv and dance around the stage, and I had the most fun. And I was like, I should keep doing this. And I did. And I did it all through high school, middle school, high school. Had a lot of fun, kikied, met a lot of good people. I don't really know. I felt like it was the only thing that I was actually like really passionate about. Cause like I'm someone who like really gets on something and then I'm like, ugh, and then I get tired of it. Like whether it's 30 minutes later or a year later, like that was like theater was always the one thing that I was like. And then when I got to college, like I felt that way for a little bit. And then I had like, you know, as all of us were all creatives, like I feel like you go in and out of it sometimes. And that was me, like my whole like junior year at TCU. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think I want to do this, which like I had other things going on, but still. And then senior year was when I was like, hell no, I'm doing theater, still gonna keep going. And now I live in New York where there's no theater happening because Miss Rona is still on her world tour, but it's great. I'm still finding ways to be creative, and that's where I am now.
Okay, yes. All right. With being a person of color and being a person of the queer community, it's like hard to kind of find like someone that you look up to. And so I'm wondering what your first experience with like a person of color / like queer character on stage was. Because I remember mine specifically was seeing Angel in Rent. That was mine where I went, this is amazing. This is something that I relate to and something I could play. So if you could travel back to a time where you first saw someone on stage that kind of represented you.
I do remember specifically. It was Godspell, the revival. The girl, if y'all remember that girl from Camp Rock who was like, who had like the nail polishes and like, see my dilemma? It's the one she was in. This isn't about her, but that's the one she was in. And Uzo, you know, Queen Uzo from Orange is the New Black. She was, say that again?
Uzo Aduba, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She was in the show, and I don't know the person that sings By My Side. And that number I felt like I was like in the 7th grade. I felt like I was watching something like out of body. It was amazing. Her like deep alto voice, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful Black woman. And I was like, I can't believe I'm watching someone like her. And I wanted to be her. That was like the first Broadway show I'd ever seen. And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. And here we are.
Here we are.
So if you're listening, you inspired me.
I didn't feel like I didn't feel, I never felt truly represented until I saw Pose, I don't think. To be quite honest. And that was only like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it was really recent.
When the first season came out, and I saw that show and I saw Angel and I said, motherfuck, that bitch, oh my God. And she also looks kind of like me, which is a whole other layer. And then, so Pose, and then the other one, Euphoria, really shook me because I really felt Jules on a very deep and spiritual level. Like I saw myself so deeply within her, even though she's such a messy girl. And yeah, on stage though, I always resonated with just like the women of color on stage. Like I didn't really give a rat's ass about 99.9% of the men. And I was just, I mean, literally, you can ask anyone I've ever met. All I did throughout my entire childhood was look at the screen and I was like, can I find a Black woman anywhere? Because first off, there were like, 3 Latinas on screen or stage ever. And so I was like, where is anything of color? Where's anything? And if they were Latina, they were always white passing, which infuriated me to no end because I've always been brown. And I was just like, where are the brown ones? Where are the brown ones? So I couldn't, as much as I wanted to stan Alex Russo, it still pissed me off she was white. So I was a Raven girl.
As you should be. No, because that's just so crazy that like theater's like, we're inclusive, we love everyone, but the fact that you didn't feel represented at all until you watch something on TV, and even then it's like FX. So it's kind of hard to get to. It's not mainstream television that everybody's watching, and it's not the CW that's on in every cable network.
And there has been, a singular trans person to ever originate a leading role on Broadway, and that is Miss Peppermint, Head Over Heels. And you know what doesn't exist? Comedic material for anyone trans. Every one of them is like, I'm sad, I'm being abused, I'm suicidal. Girl, the amount of calls I've been on in New York where I'm playing a sad, suicidal trans woman, humiliating. Do I occasionally bomb those auditions because I think it's awful? Yes. Sorry to my agent. But like literally, I just can't sit there and read this damn monologue about how like I want to kill myself. No one loves me. No one's ever gonna love me. Shut up. I mean, sure, that shit is real and like girl fire. But when that is like the only version of a narrative you can tell for someone, it's tired, it's dated, it's out.
That's like, those stories, that all LGBTQ stories, they tend to fit into one specific thing. Mostly now it's more about coming out. We get it. People come out. That's great. And people struggle to come out. We get that. And just like we got Love Victor right now, which I loved. I stand.
Okay.
But I loved it. I don't know. But I was like, this is
and it is good. So
it's okay. It's cute.
What did you expect though?
I don't know. It just I respected some things about it. I really respected the Latino lead. I really respected it. And it was a whole brown family. I was thinking about that when I was watching it. I was like, I don't think I have ever in my whole life seen a Latino family on screen and every single one of them is brown.
Literally,
I have never in my whole life.
The first episode when she's like, I can't think of her name, but I love her. She's from Devious Maids, the mom. She's like,
yeah.
If I were Jesus, where would I want to be in this kitchen watching over this family? When they're like hanging up the cross, I was like, it's so good. I think it's so good. I think it's written.
And they're shamelessly Latina, and I love the representation of that. Am I annoyed that it's 2 straight men playing gay? Very. And you know, are there certain gay tropes in the show that I get annoyed with and like I'm tired of? Sure. But overall it is cute and I did watch it all. So like who am I to bully?
Going back to straight people taking gay roles and all that kind of stuff, they make it so hard to be a person of color that is queer to get the roles that represent you. And that's so crazy to me. Like how? If even with specific roles of color, because with Angel, like not in Pose, in Rent, productions all over the world take it to themselves to be like, well, Angel doesn't have to be Hispanic. I'm like, doesn't she? Does she not have to be Hispanic? They make these specific roles where like a person of color can take these, and so then we just fight each other off for roles, and that's crazy. That is so crazy.
I think this is a thing that I've thought about a lot. I think there's a weird thing where a lot of Latinx roles have often been given to a lot of non-Latinx people. I don't know how that happened along the line, but I've seen it so many times.
We're back. We're running it back again. And so before that, we were talking about like people of color and white directors kind of making every person of color fill one specific slot. And I find it interesting at a time where we're like, you should see people of color in traditionally white roles. How do you think it's going to come back to us when white people are going to be like, well, maybe we should have people of color roles too?
They already didn't do that.
Exactly. So how do we take that away from them to be like,
well, these bitches are still convinced that us taking traditional roles is like reverse racism.
Yep. That's like when The Wiz was a thing and someone was like, well, why not an all-white version of The Wiz? I said, baby, do you not know what The Wizard of Oz is?
Literally.
Like, that whole like Twitter moment, I was like, y'all are some dumb idiots. Also, The Wiz is always still done with white people. It pisses me off, but anyway.
The gag is better.
Yeah. Brand New Day, hello?
Brand New Day. Home is literally my favorite show tune of all time. I'll die on that hill.
Correct.
I'm a fan of No Bad News. That's me.
Oh, I think like there are that cast album is like front to back hits, frankly. Anyway, but I mean, the amount of times I've heard in my career that white people think it's like a good moment to be a person of color because we are getting cast in these non-traditionally people of color roles. I think that bitch you better step up a size and shoe because you're a clown.
Mm-hmm.
Sick of it. I'm sick of it. It is absurd. If you look at the damn statistics, because Broadway releases them every single year, and you look at the percentage of people of color on stage, honey, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat, you dumb ass white people that think that we're stealing all your roles. Look at that shit. It's unbelievable.
Literally, anytime I'm like, oh, like I could be in this show, right? There's like one black girl, right? Like it's that, like that's what we're getting at, you know, when people are like, it's a good time right now for you, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, a good time for me to maybe fill that one black girl role there, and then that one black girl role there, and then that one, like, you know, there's like, they're here and there. It's not like there's more than what there used to be, but there's still not a lot. Like we have to, like people of color have to really search for roles that we could, because theater is just like, they usually only want people of color in roles that are specifically for people of color. Like, so we have to search for those. And it's not, even if I think that I could play, I'm like Rusty. Okay. I played Rusty in Footloose. It never says anywhere that like she is anything, you know, she's just Rusty, or, you know, the other characters in Footloose as well. Yeah. But like that's a role I always wanted to play. And I remember someone being like, well, like you're a black girl. And I was like, okay, and
you go yes?
Like literally. I'm like, what? And like it never says anywhere that Rusty needs to be white. She's country. She's bumpkin. That's fucking it. Like, I can turn on a country accent. Hello? Like, that's like one thing I really remember, because that was one of my dream roles, like when I was younger and like high school. And someone was like, but you're Black. And I was like, what does that have to do with that role? Literally nothing. Yes, we are Black. And like, that's something that I feel like just the theater community, they want to see like Black people, even though theater in Hollywood still, they try to categorize like Black. Anyways, I'll get into that. But like, I feel that like they want people of color to be like, yeah, like really showcase your Blackness, or show ethnic you are. Like they use those words, and you're like, I don't need to do that. Like, why can't I just show off my type, you know? And then what I was saying earlier about like Hollywood and theater, like categorizing Black people, it's how they want to see, they say they want a Black character, but then what they really mean is they want a Black person that looks kind of white. And then that like a mixed girl can only play the romantic roles, but then the dark-skinned Black girl.
Colorism, darling.
Yes.
They only like, want the white skin. That comes with too, darling.
It's not, it's just, and when people talk about like The Hate U Give, that's a good example. How that book, she originally, the lead girl was a dark-skinned Black girl. And then Hollywood cast Amandla, which I love her. But she's mixed, and it changes things.
I can. Like, it's different.
That really, it's a different experience, and I'm not saying that their experience is any less or whatever. Like, it's just a different experience. So it's like that changes the entire story. And there was also, I remember during Showcase, we went to we had a workshop with someone. And they were talking about how, you know, when Black women like walk into the room, like they're already being judged off of like the type of hair they have. She was like, don't wear a wig, like wear this, wear that. And I was like, you white person are really trying to tell Black women what kind of hair, how they can wear their hair. I hate this. I was crazy. I just hate it. I just hate it.
I have been asked, I'm not even Black, how different ways I can wear my hair, because it's like curly. And they're like, have you tried it straight? Do you have a headshot with straight hair? And I'm like, no, I don't. I've straightened my hair like 3 times in my life.
Literally. With braids, people are like, is that how you always wear your hair? And I'm like, do you want to see it in a bun? Do you want to see it in pigtails? Do you want to see it in a hat? Like what? Like that's why like just representation in these casting rooms, like, and not just like representation on the stage, but like also representation behind behind the casting table is so important, because I'm just tired of like white people asking me stupid questions, and then it makes me feel like I'm like being rude or whatever. Like I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna get the gig because like they asked me a question and like I corrected them. You know what I mean? And it's really just, no, you're ignorant, and I'm correcting you because that's just the tea, and you know, that's just what it is. So I'm just
that is stupid.
Right? More representation needs to happen so that more people of color don't feel like they're doing themselves wrong by not correcting someone, and then doing wrong to like casting directors for correcting themselves and speaking up for themselves.
Yeah, I was like, with both of you, I think y'all are very vocal about things that happen to you and speaking out against it. I never really was that way, because of the colorism aspect of it, I always felt like I was close. I always had like white teachers above me that I looked up to, and I was like, okay, they're being funny, they're making little jokes, that's like cute, like I stand, yes, we're like have a connection here. But the thing is, like, the social dynamic of being different races, you never see it until something, for me at least, it was a little bit more something big like this happening, because I was surrounded by white people so often. I was like, wow, when they said that to me, that was bad.
I personally, because I used to be called a lot of awful things, and I used to just deal with it. I was just like, well, blah. I mean, I went to a majority white, very conservative Christian school, my like whole middle school, high school experience. So that was fun. You can imagine. So I got very used to people calling me horrible, horrible things. And there came a point where I realized, it was in high school. I was probably in 10th grade, I think, when I was like, no, it was earlier. Actually, I know exactly when it was. It was in 8th grade. I guess I was an early bloomer, where I was like, I just literally can't do this anymore. It makes me miserable. So I ironically took the alternative route of becoming a bully, and I decided to bully everyone that said a bad thing about me, which was a choice. And do I regret it? Oh, gray area, because it did stop them from attacking me, but I did become a monster in the process. And like, I remember literally, I was like in 9th grade and I was in a math class and someone literally called me a fag, and I stood up and I was like, shut up, bitch. And I was the one that got in trouble. And nothing happened to him.
I love that. I love that you said, shut up, bitch.
And like, I had called a few people bitches in class because they'd said horrible things to me. Mm-hmm. And I was the one that always got in trouble. Always. They would call me, yo, girl. I used to be called a beaner a lot. Remember that phrase?
Yes.
It's crazy to me. I got called beaner a lot. And then when people figured out I was Puerto Rican, they started calling me a water beaner, which is a whole other thing. Child, I could go into it. And I hate to say it, but you learn, some people really internalize that shit. My youngest brother, who is, about to turn 20, literally, I've seen his friends in the past year call him a beaner. And he's just like, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I was like, so the thing is that you might not think they're being racist against you because you've internalized that, but they certainly are being super racist towards anyone that looks like you. 100%. Like, I have been in situations where they see a random Latina on the street and they're like, oh, there's Santa Maria, bitch. There's fucking, just these stereotypical names and these garbage things where she's a maid and she's a cook. It's garbage. And so I learned it's unfortunately a thing that you have to learn to be like, I hate this. I hate this. This is horrible. This is literally horrible. And yet sometimes your situation around you doesn't really change, even when you decide to stand up, because like my high school stayed the same. My high school stayed a shitty place to exist. I personally had to talk to the superintendent to get a rule overturned. It's literally illegal. They had a ban on people coming out. Like if you came out, you got expelled.
No way.
Yeah. And I had to talk to teachers and talk to literally the headmaster and being like, I'm going to sue you. I can literally sue you right now for discrimination. And I got it overturned. So they hated me, but I don't care because bitch, fuck you. Unfortunately, and there's a lot of shit to unlearn, and I will die on the hill saying white Latinas are desperate to be discriminated against. They're desperate for it. They are just convinced that they have it so hard. But they don't, because everyone assumes they're white anyway. And so they never experience the same shit. It's annoying. That's my journey.
I remember the first time that I felt like a disconnected with like my white friends in more like a theater aspect. We went to go watch a show. It was called Our Lady of the Tortilla, and it was a comedy. And nobody got any of the jokes except me. And so when we walked out, everyone was like, "Oh, that show was so bad. That show was awful. That show was like, what was that?" And I was like, "Did y'all not get any of the jokes? And even if you didn't, that's not your decision to make. We all still bought tickets to go watch it, sis. So I don't know what you're talking about." It's so crazy that even through the white lens gets to decide what good theater is.
Oh, period, point blank. Oh my God, I could scream that from the mountaintops. White people get to decide what version of people of color they want to see and what they find acceptable. Once it passes a certain lens, they don't like it anymore because they don't understand it and they can't fathom watching anything that doesn't represent them. We are literally trained within our brains to watch white people up there, to watch cis people up there, to watch everything but ourselves up there and still relate to it. They can't do that. It's beyond them.
White people see themselves to be cast.
Oh,
we're not allowed to do that. we have to relate to other characters that are not us. And it's just, I really hope this is a turning point to where white people need to look back on things. But even right now, we're talking about like, we'll say the most diverse thing that's happened on theater right now is Hamilton. Only rich white people get to go watch Hamilton. That's it.
That's why I stand Jeremy O. Harris with all my goddamn heart. If you're familiar with Jeremy O. Harris, he wrote Slave Play, which was on Broadway, a brilliant play. His whole mission was he would always have seats available that were like $40. And he would have blackout nights where he only brought in Black audiences of like schools and just communities, because he was on this whole tirade. He went on this whole like tirade against Broadway because he was furious about the fact that Broadway isn't accessible to a lot of people, to most people, frankly. And he was talking about how he only ever saw Broadway shows when he was younger, and he didn't see Broadway show until I think he said he was like in his late teens, early 20s, because he couldn't afford it. And the accessibility issue, like Broadway is a privileged like system.
I go broke to see shows. I mean, I'm lucky that I was able like to see them, but they're expensive. I'll be like, I'll eat one meal today because I'm seeing a show tonight. Like they are expensive.
A lot of people have been talking about like the college entrance stuff and like how that's kind of like I want to hear about your experiences with that, because
Well, the amount of times that I heard auditioning for schools, oh, they just graduated this many Black girls, like you have a really good chance. Or like, oh, like they already have like a few Black girls that are like your type, so maybe not. Or like, oh, there's like a smaller Black girl, so like maybe you could be like the curvy Black girl. Oh, baby. So many times. I was like, okay, I get that like theater is about type, but damn, like can a girl just go to a school with a good program, and can a school just accept me for that reason? No. Like for like me just doing well at my audition and wanting me to learn from your department? Like I just it just makes you as an 18-year-old kid going into college, you're already like shit is madness. It just makes you feel like less than, makes you feel like a number. And like also being at a high school that I also went to a high school that was predominantly white. I think I could count all of the Black people that were in my class of 505 people. Like it made me feel just like even more of what I'd already been feeling in high school. I just became so like, there was a point when I just like felt like I just didn't really even like think about me being Black, if that makes sense, because I didn't want to, because like it was always against me. And then like college auditions, it was against me again. They were like, oh, there's already this many Black people there, or I mean, we don't have any Black people, so we'd love you. Like either way, it never felt completely like, never felt like it was because of my talent or anything. So then I'm entering college and I feel like I have to prove myself, and I don't want to have to do that. I just want to get there and learn and do things for me. So yeah.
And then I think something that should be talked about is there's a huge wealth gap in people going to school for theater. Auditioning for college theater programs is expensive. Mm-hmm. They really expect you to fly to one of 3 cities to audition for schools. You literally have to go across the country for a lot of people to get to LA, Chicago, or New York. So you can just audition, which is, I think it's insane. And then all these people pay for, these audition coaches. There are businesses, several businesses literally designed to help people get into theater schools, which is, it's not cute because a lot of underprivileged people don't have the accessibility and the money, or sometimes usually the time, to be able to go to all those damn classes to train for your audition and then fly to a city and pay, once again, you have to pay an extra fee to fucking audition for a program.
The pre-screens are expensive. They're not, and like the statistics of like people telling you like, okay, you should audition for this many schools because you'll get into this many, you know?
Right. And people are
Based off of just
auditioning
how
for
you
15
look.
schools.
I literally auditioned for one school. That was
Really?
and I got in and I was like, okay.
Wow.
I did one big cattle call, but there were no like good musical theater schools there. And then I did TCU and I got into TCU and I was like, I am so fucking lucky that worked out for me.
Yeah. But like pre-screens, how much are they now? Like were they, I feel like they were like sometimes 75 through 150. I mean, and I was lucky, me and a few other Kansas City people, we did MTKC and they brought the colleges to us for pre-screens. So it was like, I think it was 12 schools that we just got to do pre-screens for. But we did a showcase, like a senior showcase. And they would tell you, yeah, you passed the pre-screen. So like, that's what I did that. So I didn't have to pay for at least half of the pre-screens because I auditioned for 18 schools. So I didn't have to pay for like 12-ish pre-screens. And then I paid for about 5. But that's still, I mean, $75 to $150, that is.
And another thing people don't talk about is there is an accessibility issue. Like, for instance, I went to a school with a very minimal theater program. Like, it just wasn't very big. I didn't even know auditioning for theater schools was a thing until my senior year, like right before, like come like September, when I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is a whole ass process where you have to pre-screen and then literally go somewhere to audition. And then you have to have like monologues picked out. You need like contemporary dramatic, contemporary comedic, classical comedic, classical dramatic, and then like a song if you're gonna do, you need like 3 different 18-bar cuts if you're gonna do musical theater. And then you need to be ready for a dance audition. And I was so overwhelmingly overwhelmed by it because I had never experienced any of that. My school didn't even do, you didn't have to audition with a monologue. All we did was audition with sides from the show we were doing. Like it was like a cheap little theater department. It was super ragtag. We literally raised money to do our musicals every year. So like I literally didn't know what any of that was. It's an accessibility issue because unless you come from a school with a good theater department that's like, look at all these options, look at all these theater schools. I don't know. I think I was the second person in my school, like ever, to go to a theater school.
Wow.
I believe so. I might have been the first, but I'm pretty sure I'm the second. I'm pretty sure I'm the second. But the person that went before me went to a school where you didn't like have to audition and go through that whole rigmarole. So it's weird. And like, I was super privileged, you know, I'm not going to ignore that. Like my parent is a doctor, so I'm good. And like, I was able to fly to the places and I was able to pay the audition fees. And I had a session with an audition coach, which basically she like sat me down and she's like, so this is how you find a monologue. And this is how you determine if a school is what you want. And I was like, you can find a monologue. I have to like read a bunch of plays. And she's like, yes. And I was like, I ain't done that before.
I think for me the big like stripping away of the privilege for me was going to TCU, which makes sense. But I didn't think about it at the time because I remember the first thing I remember was I went into a dance call. I wore really tight sweats to make it look like I was wearing jazz pants. And I wore dress shoes to make it look like I was wearing something that was nicer because they were like worn out dress shoes that would like bend with my foot. And I just looked around at everybody in full dance garb and I was like,
and that's just expensive.
Baby?
What they expect you to wear to like every musical theater audition is goddamn expensive.
We started on these LaDucas.
These fucking LaDucas, these fucking like tights and these like dance skirts that everyone somehow has and these leotards. All this shit is owned by like 3 companies and they're all expensive.
A shoe that literally, like, if you walk into any call in New York, like if you're not wearing LaDucas, people literally look you up and down. They're like, what are you doing? You're not literally job seriously. So you expect Black women to say they're going to like a big dance call. You want to wear the boots. They can't get the fucking boots that are like their color. That's not fair. Like that's just not fair. You're setting them up for failure. So then they're having to wear, like, they want to wear, like, the nude color, like, nude. They want to wear their color, and it's in a character heel that's not the boot that's better for the ankle support. Like, you know, it's a whole thing that it's just, and now LaDuca has said, like, we are going to make, like, more colors, and they're going to be more accessible in all different, you know, styles. I'm like, thank God, but why did it take this long? I truly don't understand. I don't get it. I don't think it'll cost you more money. You make the black ones and the very, very pale tan ones in all different sizes. So why is it so hard to make? I just don't get it. Like, they're like kind of custom made anyway. So why is it so hard to just match them to people's skin tones? It's because theater is low-key racist. Like, that's why.
Low-key,
Low-key.
We're past low-key. If you were to see one traditional play made hella gay or hella LGBTQ or hella person of color, what would you like to see?
Can I say a movie?
Yeah.
La La Land.
Darling.
You can't pan LA and be like, it's all white people.
Exactly.
Jazz. Fucking jazz.
Yes! And y'all know I love La La Land. Y'all know I do. But I'm like, okay, you're talking about jazz, the history of it. It's like, it's the movie just feels so so not white. But it, like, is, like, everyone in it, except for fucking John Legend. It, like, everyone's white. And I'm like, I just would love to see that, and just that movie, all people of color. But that's just my take.
Mine would be, it isn't so much, it's not a show or a movie perhaps, but it's just like a trend I'd like to see that I think would change things. I would love to personally see trans women, trans men, gender non-conforming people play love interests. I would like to see on a stage in a movie a trans love interest where it's not a huge fucking deal, where it's not the whole topic of conversation, where it's not like this man is fetishizing this trans woman, this man is treating this trans woman like shit, this man will not go out in public with this trans woman. I would love to see just a goddamn show where a trans woman is simply desired and not viewed as like a commodity, or this man is so damn brave for liking this trans woman or trans man, or because I'm just, that's my tea. And also, for the love of God, if you cast one more cis person as a trans person, I'm gonna throat punch you. I'm gonna throat punch you. Listen, y'all should watch Disclosure on Netflix. I would highly recommend Disclosure. It's a new documentary.
Oh, I did see that on the.
It's about trans representation in media. And I've held this opinion for years and years and years, but basically one of the things that they were talking about was when you have all these cis people playing trans people, it really puts in your head the concept that trans people are simply cis people with good hair, makeup, and costume. They're not actually women, they're not actually men, but they're a woman or a man in disguise, you know? And then you see these people win awards for it, which is disgusting. And same thing with straight people playing gay people. I have about had it with people getting accolades for that. That's one of the reasons why Call Me By Your Name made me want to scream at the top of my lungs, because they got so much accolades. And here's why. They also mentioned this in Disclosure, and I've been saying this for years, and I'm so glad someone articulated it so well. It was Jen Richards, I think, who said it. She said, who's a wonderful activist, actress too, and writer. She basically said, when you have someone getting all these accolades, a straight person playing a gay person, a cis person playing a trans person, they're not talking about the performance. They're talking about the character they put on to assimilate into whatever they're playing. They don't give a shit if you're a good actor. They care about the fact that they were brave enough to put on a performance to play a woman, or put on the performance to play a gay person. When you cast an actual trans person or an actual gay person, they don't have to do all that. They're just acting, babe. But you know what? No one gives a shit. Because they don't care. Because, like, well, you know, they're already gay, so who cares? If a straight person does it, though, suddenly it's fucking remarkable and groundbreaking. And that is foul. And also, the other thing is that it doesn't go both ways. I once had a straight actor told me, I will never leave my head. It happened last year while I was in New York. I met this actor. He was working with me at my job in a retail store. And I was like, what kind of roles would, he was asking me like, what kind of roles like I'm auditioning for, would be interested in. I was talking about it. I was like, what kind of role would you be interested in? He's like, I think it'd be really compelling to play a gay person. I almost left my body. I said, I have to go to the bathroom. And then I went to the bathroom and like screamed. I was like, that is the worst thing I've ever heard in my whole life, that you think it's like a fucking experiment project to play a gay person because you think it'll be like a challenging, brave role of you to do. I'm going to hit you in the throat. I'm going to punch you. I'm going to throat punch you right here.
I wish you did.
That
regrets.
That's crazy.
We have to be polite about it though, or else no one will care.
No, and the fact is they get to think that and they get to say that out loud. It's the only way we will get worse.
Angry when I say something. I get painted as the angry, loud Latina who can't keep her mouth shut.
Angry Black woman all my life, baby.
Right. And am I loud? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank y'all for talking to me today and taking time out of your busy schedule, because this was a struggle to get together, but I knew it was gonna be worth it. Y'all served it. Y'all served it up.
I'll come back anytime.
Thanks.
Part 2. I hope everybody just, white people, listen up. We're talking. It's time. Thank you.
Yes.